Oh my. I have officially completed Cyberpunk 2077, the base game and the DLC, all the way through, and I am very sad. But now I can finally do a full review and give my thoughts on the game and the DLC all together. So let's go through this in a couple different categories to break it down. And just as a side note, I am going to post my Phantom Liberty DLC gameplay in the next day or two. So if you want to check that out, I'll post it in the next day or two. But back to the more important topic. So our first category we're going to start with is the story and characters, especially the main story. So this game is very different than others in the sense that the main story, you learn very early on that you pretty much have a doomsday countdown where you are going to die as the main character V. And this continues throughout the whole game, and it brings on these interesting RPG decisions where you know that you will not live. And in the end, you have to make decisions that no matter what, you will not be able to get the good ending. You're going to have to betray or kind of screw over one of the main characters in the game to get the ending that you choose. And this makes decision making a lot more meaningful and more intense. That's how I'd put it. I love how they integrated or implemented the main characters into the main storyline, and especially Johnny Silverhand as Keanu Reeves. That was awesome. I love how they did that, how he's like a digital buddy that sits in your mind the whole game, and it kind of made the game also feel less lonely because even in a single player open world game, you have a character that's kind of always with you, and it just so happens that it is Keanu Reeves, which is a bonus. So that's the first. Story and characters were amazing. The main story, there were so many memorable moments. Just off the top of my head, I remember in the early game, the Arasaka parade in Japantown was amazing. The early big mission with Jackie where you go into Arasaka Tower, that was awesome. The endings were great. There were so many cool main story missions, and this is a game that you have to play the side content. Like, it's a must, but just the story, the main story lines and the characters were amazing in and of itself. The next category we're going to do is world and atmosphere, which is arguably the most important category of this game. So obviously the game takes place in the year 2077 in a dystopian transhumanism future, and at the heart of it is Night City, which is a massive mega city. But the weirdest thing about this is, I don't know if I was alone on this, but early on in the game, I wasn't immediately intrigued by the city. I was not one of those people going into this that was really looking forward to the Blade Runner cyberpunk atmosphere. Early on, I was like, man, is the game going to be this depressing? The world seems so depressing and dark, and it's such a different vibe than even like, CDPR's other games in the Witcher worlds. But that changed dramatically as I played more and more. The city is dark, literally and figuratively. Literally because you rarely ever see the sunshine and it's dark and bright with neon lights, but figuratively because you're in this decaying, rotting city that is full of homeless people, garbage, drug addicts. It's hypersexualized, there's violence, there's crime, and it makes for these awesome immersive characteristics that just don't exist. It's almost this alternate humanity or alternate path that humanity took, and this is where it all ended up. And the more you live in the world, the more it draws you into it. It's really weird. Like Witcher 3, for me anyways, I was into the game right from the early get-go. It looked amazing, it felt amazing, but this game, it took a little bit, but then once you're in, you're really in. So the world and atmosphere was awesome. It completely changed my mind on the cyberpunk dystopian Blade Runner genre, and it was unlike anything I've ever played in a game. And actually, to give these categories a ranking, story and characters, I would do like a 9.5, and the world and atmosphere, I would do a 9.8. Every district in the city, every alleyway, every street felt so alive, and it felt like you were truly in a megaton city and you could get lost in it. So 9.5 story and characters, 9.8 for the world and atmosphere. Our next category is going to be gameplay and I guess you can say build variety, but at the center of the gameplay is obviously the combat. I had not very high expectations for the combat because going into the game, you're like, wait, is this a first-person shooter? Is it I see some melee builds, you don't really know what to make of it, but once you start to kind of focus in on a build, the world completely opens up in terms of combat. I ran a very general build for the first 130 hours, and it wasn't till the DLC where I actually respec'd and found a Mantis build that was awesome. I wish I respec'd earlier, but still. And there is literally no other game that has even remotely similar combat to this game. The combination of quick hacks and net running, the melee builds, the actual gun and weapon builds is unbelievable. There's endless combinations of builds, and it feels like players are still finding builds to this day. And I know the game was not like this when it was released, but thankfully I can now judge the game on the 2025 version and not the year or the month that it was released. So gameplay and variety is definitely a strong point, unlike any other game, and it's addictingly fun. I'm already on my second playthrough now, and trying a different build in the combat is even more fun than the first playthrough. So gameplay and a focus on combat, I would give combat a 9.7 out of 10. Very high ranking for how unique it is and how addictingly fun the combat is in the game. So our next category, and I'll kind of put this all together, is visuals, optimization, and also like sound and music. We'll put this all into one category. Let's start with visuals and the graphic fidelity. This one should be easy. This is the best looking game, the best looking video game I've ever played. Undoubtedly, it looks unbelievable. I played the base game on my older PC, then I upgraded before I played the DLC, my GPU. At max settings, I was able to play the DLC, and there were times when I was looking around being like, this looks like real life, and I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a screenshot of the game and real life. The path tracing, ray tracing, the lighting, the textures, even the NPCs, everything about it looks amazing. And even with mods, this was without mods, but with mods, I heard it gets even crazier. So yeah, graphic fidelity, probably a 10 out of 10, best looking game I've ever seen. The performance in optimization, not as good. I know it's night and day versus when the game first came out, but I'd probably give the performance a 7.5 out of 10. I still ran into some bugs, and sometimes you'd be driving and you'd fall through the ground and have to load the last checkpoint, but nothing that's unplayable. So 7.5, not terrible, but not unplayable. And then sound, in terms of voice acting and music and just background noise, I'd give it pretty high ranking. I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. The music was surprisingly good during action scenes, and during certain cutscenes and things, the ambiance was really nice, and it felt very Blade Runner-esque, which was really cool as well. So visuals 10 out of 10, performance 7.5, and music 9 out of 10. Those are the separate rankings for each of those things. Then our final category is going to be, I'd say, let's put it as extra content and replayability. This is our final category. Let's start with the DLC. We're going to put that in here. The Phantom Liberty DLC was cinema. It was so fucking good. Every part of it was awesome. I love how they built on an already amazing world, but actually made Dogtown feel different. Dogtown, if you look at it, it looks like kind of a shithole. There's garbage everywhere, destroyed buildings, but then they kind of made their own world inside of that, with the arena, with the, what was that area? The stacks with the shipping containers and people who lived there. That was really cool. It is an awesome area to play in. The side content, the side missions in the DLC were great, and the main story and everything about that was great as well. My only criticism for the DLC would be, I wish they built out Chris Hansen, the antagonist, a bit more. It felt like they could have done more with that character and kind of made us empathize with him more. Kind of like how we empathized with Arasaka and Takamura during the base game. So I wish they had that a bit more built out, but either way, it was still good. And then in terms of, I don't know, side quests in the main game were obviously great. Even the NCPD quest, when there's no real goal other than to kill, was really fun to do. In endings, I did all the endings for the base game, and they were all really good. My favorite ending was the Johnny Rogue ending, and then maybe second was the Nomad ending, but they were all pretty fun. I still have to do all the other endings for the DLC. I got the Somi Songbird dead ending with Reed staying alive. So that was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag in terms of how I felt about it, but the actual ending itself was really cool. In that horror mission at the end of the DLC, I did not see that coming. That was scaring the shit out of me, but it was fun to do. So there it is. So in this whole category, I'm going to give like a 9.8 out of 10 as well. And to add in, the replayability of this game is unbelievable. You can play, I've already started a second playthrough, and with the amount of build options you can do, it can feel completely different how you play through the combat. And then that combined with the amount of decisions in different endings you can have is 10 out of 10 cinema. I should also just mention, this game has my now favorite Easter egg in any video game ever. I'll play it and then we'll come back to it. So if you don't know what the Easter egg is about, it's a depiction of the ending scene in the first Blade Runner movie, where the antagonist, Roy Batty, after he saves Harrison Ford's character, he's sitting on the roof holding a bird in the rain, and he gives this infamous speech called Tears in the Rain before he dies. And it's actually a deep monologue about the passing of time, and it's a pretty, honestly, emotional speech. And then the real character who played Roy Batty actually passed away in real life a few years ago. And you can find this Easter egg in the game, and it is so cool. The music, if you notice, when you go up in the elevator, the AV will fly above you, the music will change, and then you will see this character sitting there with the Tears in the Rain neon sign as well. And it actually, the first time I saw it, it actually made me feel almost a little bit like emotional, because I remember seeing Blade Runner, the first movie, with my dad so long ago when I was a kid. And honestly, I was probably a little bit too young, because it can be a pretty violent movie. And then seeing this scene brought up a bunch of like nostalgic emotions, and it is the coolest Easter egg I've ever seen. And there it is. That is my review of Cyberpunk 2077. This, I think, is my second favorite game of all time. I think it's only behind Witcher 3. It is unbelievable. There's no other game like it. And it has completely shifted my mind in the Cyberpunk Blade Runner genre, where now I actually love the vibe and aesthetic of this game. And I can't wait for the second game whenever it comes out in 10 years. And like I said, I will be posting my gameplay of my first Phantom Liberty playthrough in the next couple days. So if you want to check that out, go for it. Peace out. Ooh.